Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Christian Finnegan.
Christian Finnegan, good to see you again. I just saw,
Oh, Keith,
yeah, I
such
just
a
saw,
pleasure.
thank you. I saw Christian yesterday. We went to the movies. When I showed up, it was already in previews. I haven't seen, when's the last time I saw you in person? It's been a minute.
It's been a while. It's been I don't know, 6 months, something like that.
We saw the
Maybe.
new Aliens movie. And uh, in between previews that were already playing, Christian said, "So how you been? What's new?" And I said, "Well, Kyle and I broke up. We're all good though. I'm in love with a woman in Charlotte. I think this CLT shirt I'm wearing is funny because it says clit. Anyway, how are you?" And the next promo started. But next thing you know, there's 25 minutes of promo. In between promos, we probably could have covered everything.
We probably could have. There really would have been no reason for this podcast to to think I could have weaseled my way out of this. I missed my opportunity.
um, it was fun to fill Christian in on being in love again, and I said, Christian has been with you've been with your wife for how long now?
6 weeks,
6 weeks. Okay, it's going all
something
right.
like that. Is 6 weeks or 18 years, one or the other.
18 years. Okay,
Well, what?
so
Let me 2003. Shit, 21 years total, like together. I think 18 years married.
now that's beautiful. I mean, it sounds beautiful. I don't live with you, but I start getting nervous. Like, okay, so now I know what love is. Do I end up saying that until I'm 80 years old and be like, now I know what love is? But then I started thinking about it. And Camden and I had a good run, especially with Keith and the girl. Me and my ex-wife, we wouldn't have gotten married so fast if it wasn't for a green card. Me and Kyle didn't live together, so it's not necessarily devastating. And I do think this is totally different. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I don't want to poke holes in this at all. I
Yes.
want things to work out and all that. But it's like, I mean, you say that you and Kyle weren't living together, so it's not quite you can't really measure it against living with someone because it's just a different experience. You're seeing
Yes.
someone 24 hours a day in all ways, shapes, and forms. But I would say that obviously this is still new, and the fact that it's long distance is kind of provides an artifice of its own.
I know, but at the same time, not to be offensive to anybody, it does feel totally different. And I like oh, I didn't tell you this. And she has a 7-year old, Liz, who
You
I'm
did not
saying.
tell me this.
And well, the promos were only 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
Um, and I like this kid better than other kids I've seen. So I don't know when
I
this
mean,
kid becomes a teenager, they have any kind of attitude. Mom, I don't think I want to. No, no.
yeah, 7 years old, that's a different animal than a 12-year-old.
Right.
We'll see
But
how that goes. I mean, not that I know. We don't have any kids, but
but you see, yeah, love is hard to make it work sometimes. I mean, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck couldn't get it done. They're getting
neither
divorced
time, neither
again.
time could they get it done. I know. It's tragic.
She filed divorced on their second wedding anniversary. That's a move, right? That's not an accident.
It feels intentional.
Feels like
Like,
a thing.
oh my God, this is so awkward. I didn't even realize.
I had so much fun yesterday.
Yeah,
Uh,
we had a good time.
I love talking to Christian. I was explaining this to Liz, and I'm like, how do I say this? Conversation was flow and we're being personal. Nobody's saying anything out of line about their significant other or something like this, but at the same time, we're real and we're talking about the problems and this kind of thing. And Liz says, "Oh, you mean a real conversation?" Yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
I don't find that much. I don't find that
No,
much
I
with
don't. I
people.
don't. I don't. I don't look for it much anymore. Honestly, I mean, maybe that's a demerit to my character, but I find myself as time goes by, uh, just not trying as hard. Like if a real conversation with someone happens, super, but I'm not struggling for it. Like I'm no there. I feel like there was a time in my 20s where it's like, no, man, what are you really about? Like we got to really make this friendship deep and meaningful. And now if good conversations come along, I'm happy to have them. But
I
I'm
don't
in my own navel just like everybody is.
I don't think it's necessary. It sounds like you're putting yourself down though, like you're not the one who reaches out. I I start when I talk to somebody, I try to start sometimes with something personal, and that says it's okay. You can be personal too. And people just aren't. And whether they're, I mean, you know,
Yeah, it
I'm
was weird.
50.
Like the minute I saw Keith, he immediately showed me a rash that he was worried about
Right.
and
And next
asked
thing
my
you know, I
opinion on
know,
it. And
and I get Christian's personal life. People get nervous how you're going to remember their problems, so they don't want to vent necessarily right away. I don't know, even people that I've known for a while, it's people that I'm thinking of a woman some time ago, and she goes, she's having personal problems, and she's like, but my friends aren't there to help me. I feel all alone. I'm like, because you don't share any of this shit.
yeah, I trust me, I
They don't
wish
know how to
that.
help or reach out. You don't share things. People do not share. It's abnormal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you do like you were saying. It's like you need to kind of have that permission structure of being like you can slightly unload right now. Honestly, one of the things I miss about therapy, I haven't had a therapist for the past few years, but when I used to go to therapy, it's just like knowing that there was a dude who had to listen,
Right.
like, and who was is expecting to listen, and that I wasn't burdening at all, and that I wasn't like taking the conversation to a place where the other partner didn't want, the other person didn't want it to go. And I do think that even if I'm not necessarily totally convinced that therapy can change your life or whatever, I do think there's a lot of value in just having someone who you don't like, you can just offload on, and that's like part of the expectation.
Right. And I'm not saying I get on a bus and share shit with my bus driver, but if you have a friend that you've known for 10 years, let's say, 5 years,
Mhm.
let's say, you can share some things. Don't worry about it. If it feels good, it's good to hear and it's good to say. And it's abnormal, and I'm blessed to know you.
And you can always just stop hanging out with that person if it gets weird. That's my
Right.
policy.
Right. If they hang something
There's
over your head.
nothing there's nothing stopping you from just abandoning that person completely if it gets weird.
Yeah, Liz said this to me, like something she found attractive to me. She said, "You bring up tough topics casually, because like basically we're all going through the same shit." Now I don't know if that's a sign of autism, but I take it as a big compliment because again, these
I think
conversations are hard to find.
doing this show for a long time has sort of nudged you in that direction of kind of just cut the bullshit. And
Right.
and also I do think there's something about you that is slightly perverse in the sense that you like not seeing someone twist, but you like kind of asking the blunt question instead of the five questions leading up to the blunt question. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
sure.
I think that you kind of enjoy watching someone wrestle with the, and wrestle, that's too strong a word, but
I'd
I
rather
think you like
not.
watching somebody.
I'd rather get to the answer, not necessarily them playing a game. I don't enjoy them playing a game.
No, I think that you enjoy seeing someone sort of deal with your questions in real time, and that I think that you probably get a more genuine response from it because
Right.
they're not sort of doing their focus grouped way of answering questions because you catch them unaware. It's like asking a good debate question. It's like you want to ask somebody a question in a way that they're forced to answer honestly because they just haven't rehearsed a fake answer.
Yeah, I see that. I
I don't know.
see. I'm thinking of like an old relationship, and let's say the woman's like being angry or upset, and I'm trying to talk it out. I'm trying to talk it out. I remember years ago when I didn't have feelings. I've learned to 4 or 5 easily, but I'm trying to talk it out. Like, tell me what's wrong. What's going on? I'm fine, and then I'm like, oh, okay, because it felt like there was a problem. All right, I guess we're good. I have to take your
I,
word for it.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big proponent of I'm fine. Or not, proponent's not the right word, but I fall back on that a lot. And sometimes it's just like, you know what? I just don't really feel like plumbing the depths right now. Like,
Right.
like I I am trying with not a lot of success to spend less time in my own navel. Like I'm trying to spend it is I spend a lot of time alone, and I tend to really, like, I have a PhD in me. Like I really spent a lot of time analyzing like why did I react to that situation this particular way? And sometimes I feel like I've just become very solipsistic and very self-obsessed. And so sometimes in conversations, I really try to resist the urge to start getting into like who am I and what am I? I don't know. I don't know. I want to have a real conversation, but I don't want to have a conversation about Christian Finnegan a whole lot, if that makes sense.
I get you. Uh, yeah, and I don't like in personal conversations. I don't dig too much if you don't give a little bit. But I don't know. Anyway, I just had a lot of fucking fun. The world's bullshit. The world's bullshit. I just saw a article from the New York Times. I only saw the headline. That was enough for me. Called "Trump Can Win on Character," and I'm like, I don't know if you're being provocative. I don't know if you're playing devil's advocate, but who gives a shit? I guess you got to keep writing bullshit for a living. Everything's kind of already been said. But what are you doing? This is stupid, and it's nice to when people are real.
I I think that people wonder why the New York Times and the Washington Post and a lot of these legitimate news sources, like why do they seem like they're constantly promoting Trump or minimizing his nonsense or holding Democrats to a different standard? And I think the answer is, and I think this is true of a lot of media in general, is that there's no there's no juice to going after Republicans because if you're on the Trump train, so to speak, you're done listening. Like you're impervious. You're not gonna. There's no clickbait to reach those people. And a lot of these, the New York Times op-ed writers and stuff, they operate in predominantly liberal or centrist circles, and so there's just a lot more web traffic and clicks
Right.
if you tweak that base. There's nothing to be gained by tweaking the Trump Republicans because they don't read you anyway and they don't listen. They don't give a shit. And so if you really want to like generate discourse and all that, the way to do that is to tweak the sensibilities of the left.
It's almost like it's the way people are fake in general. It's just another example of it. How do you rate an article like Trump's character is actually the good thing, and then go to bed? I
Yeah.
don't know. I
I
couldn't
mean,
do it. I couldn't do it.
I have this sort of grand theory of the Trump era, which is that there is a thing inside all of us, or most of us, what I would, for lack of a better term, call your gag reflex, that stops you from ever being completely full of shit. That there is something when you are saying something that you know is not true, there's a little thing inside you that makes you embarrassed and it makes you trip over your words or it makes you sweat or it makes you stammer, and that Trump's gift to the right and the political discourse in general is that he doesn't have that. He is completely unaffected by lying. Like that he
Yeah.
can do it with that ease and comfort that I think a lot of Republicans were just very inspired by it. And so it's like when you see all these people are like, why do they still love Trump? It's because they love what Trump has empowered in them. It's like, oh, I can just be full of shit and no one can do anything about it. I can
Right.
just double down and double down and double down. And the end justifies the means because the people that Trump makes angry are the people that I want to be angry. And there's just something very intoxicating, I think, about somebody taking the gloves off or making you feel like, oh, those rules that I thought I had to live by, I don't actually have to live by them. You know?
Right. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I
It's just
caught me red-handed. It
there's just
wasn't me. You can do that now. Yeah.
well, I'm bringing Shaggy into the political discourse. I am very, very impressed.
Not Hulk Hogan, not Lil Jon.
No.
I brought in
Yes.
Shaggy. Okay. Is so RFK Jr. First he goes, "Hey, Kamala Harris, uh, maybe we can get on a phone call." And Kamala's camp says, "Yeah, she can't get to the phone so fast." And he goes, "Okay, hey Trump. Now that I
Yeah.
think about it, I like your ideology," as if they're similar. And Trump says, "Yeah, sure, come on board. Will you give me a position of some kind? We'll talk."
Yeah.
uh the whole family, the Kennedys are saying, what the fuck? Now, I'm not saying I believe in this royal family. I can give a shit. But it is funny that every member of the Kennedys of this
Yeah.
generation is going, what the shit? We want an America filled with hope. This is signed by all the Kennedys. that are around now: Kathleen Kennedy, Courtney, Carey, Chris, Rory. We want an America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in Harrison Walls. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story. That's something.
Is it? I mean, yeah.
I think
I,
it's
I, I do. I think that where they, you look at like Kennedy's, or I don't even call him Kennedy, RFK
right.
Jr., where RFK Jr.'s politics have been over the past 20 years in terms of environmentalism and things like that. You say like, well, how could he possibly be with Trump when Trump advocates for the exact opposite, or doesn't advocate for anything except himself, but opens the door and lets every scumbag in the world come in and run his
Right.
administration for him. But if you look at where the Venn diagram crosses over, like the things they have in common, they're both willing, they're both completely self-obsessed, and they're both completely uh willing to change what they say depending on who's listening, and they're narcissists and egotists. Like, to me, that's where they kind of they cross over, so they both have this just insatiable desire to be in front of a microphone and be in front of a camera.
I saw this guy on Twitter. His name is Not Hoodlum, and he writes, RFK Jr. is deleting tweets faster than he dumped dead bears in Central Park. So true. It's like, oh,
So
no,
true.
no, there's no problem with the NRA. Delete. There's no problem with delete. All right.
Well, and again though, it's like, if you think that like Trump people are going to be upset that RFK Jr. is saying the exact opposite of what he's always said, you are mistaken. That in fact, I think there's nobody Trump loves more than someone who used to hate him, because he's broken them.
right.
He's broken them. He's made them. They're essentially all reek, from Game of Thrones to him. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you have accepted your supplicant position, and that I honestly think people who have always admired him, always loved him, I think he kind of like looks down on them. As I think he loves the idea of you know uh turning someone in a way,
Right.
you know what I mean, of them having to kiss the ring.
So it was actually, it helped JD Vance that JD Vance in the past called Trump
I think
America's
so.
Hitler.
I think so. I do. I think it makes it feels like a scalp for both Trump and the Trump people. That is just like, you thought you could defy us and you can't, and now like the Ted Cruzes of the world, these just losers, these complete. I mean, it's so funny to me that you hear all these dudes talk about like alpha males and stuff like that, and I guess this is why they're so obsessed with it, because they really do seem to adopt those sort of herd mentalities. It's like, I will slip into my beta role. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I also just on another level, I always love when people talk about like, we're all alpha males. Like, well, that's not possible, because if you were
Right.
all alpha males, you'd be murdering each other. Like,
Right.
there's only one alpha male in any group of people. But yeah, I
I
think
saw
we
it in Arizona. There's a Trump rally. More than 100 people have been treated for heat related illnesses. I don't know. Sit on the side for a second. Grab some water. But yeah, it's probably Trump going. You know what? It's a blessing, like Jesus in the desert. They stood there in the heat while I had to perform outside because I don't pay my bills for indoor venues, so nobody has me inside anymore.
Yeah, I mean, these people are lost. They can't be convinced. They have to be defeated, and that's the only way and one of the real shames of the internet social media era is that nobody has the safety of disappearing anymore. That everyone feels like they have to defend. We live in this like receipts culture, like this, when you'll see
Right.
people and they'll say something and somebody will pull up a tweet they wrote 5 years ago. Like, we're all living in fear of some like 23-year-old from Duluth, Minnesota, screenshotting a tweet that we wrote 5 years ago. And it makes everyone constantly have to double down because they're defending this avatar that they've created online. It's like when Nixon burned out, flamed out, people who were like Nixon fans had the option of just kind of not talking about politics for a few years. Do you know what I mean? Of kind of just
Hmm.
sinking into the woodwork, and rather than have to apologize, and there was nobody really out there on a daily basis saying, you defended Nixon and now look at what happened and what do you have to say for yourself? They could just kind of blend into the world.
Right.
That world doesn't exist anymore, and I don't blame, it doesn't surprise me that none of the people who have been conned by Trump are willing to go back on it, because there's not even any reward for admitting you're wrong. Because the minute you say like, oh, I was wrong about this whole thing, people just
Right.
excoriate you even harder.
What
So
what's the deal with what's the deal with politicians using music at the rallies and not knowing that the artist is gonna be upset? So the RFK Jr. gets introduced by Trump. They play "There Goes My Hero" by the Foo Fighters. The song doesn't fit. It doesn't make any
no.
fucking sense to that event. But anyway, that's what they do. And the Foo Fighters, of course, go, "What the fuck? No, we don't like that." I think that would only be more negative press. Why wouldn't you know the Foo Fighters wouldn't be into you?
Well,
You can't, do they give a
I don't know
shit?
that it is. No, I don't. First of all, I think that these cease and desists, they take a long time to take effect. So it's like you can do it for a month or two before, any sort of
But you
lawyers
want
can
positive
stop you.
press, and this is
I don't
negative
know.
press.
No, because that just reinforces your culture war bullshit of like, oh, Hollywood and entertainment, they're against us, and the beleaguered conservatives. I think these people, it's like they have such an obsession with being in charge, but portraying themselves as victims simultaneously, which is such a weird combination of like victimizing and being victimized concurrently, and so I think that when they can get a band, or a big celebrity or whatever to ask them to stop using their music, that's just another press release of like, look at how everyone's against us,
I
and
guess,
and
yeah.
I think, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't happen over and over and over and over again,
You
which it
think?
does. And
Right,
also it's
right.
like the pickings are slim. Like if they if they want to, and I tried thinking about this recently. When's the last time, or can you think of a time that there was a band or a musician that was like outwardly conservative and also putting out their best work?
Right.
Like a lot of bands, a lot of artists become conservative, in their middle age and whatnot,
I
or
agree.
once
Right.
they're established and rich or whatever. But when's the last time like somebody who was like a notably conservative artist of any kind, maybe in film, but like when's the last time somebody who's known as a conservative, certainly a Trump conservative, put out a piece of art that wasn't just fucking just hot garbage?
Is it because they know they're full of shit and their creative side can't work because it doesn't come from an honest place?
I think that's part of it. I also think that the kind of mentality that is repelled by Trump is an artistic personality type. I don't think that the I think that the kinds of things that are important to most artists would prevent them from being suckered in by Trump in the first place.
Mhm.
And the reason that a lot of the, there are these artists who are like anti Trump, it's like, oh, I'm not for Trump, but I'm, these social justice warriors, like Billy Corgan has become kind of like one of these whiny Joe Rogan interviewee types who it's like he won't come out and say like I'm for Trump, but he will spend all of his time bitching about the liberals and the left, and I mean
Right.
this maybe not recently, but certainly within the past few years. I'm
I
thinking of this because I'm literally writing about Billy Corgan for my newsletter this week about
okay.
my weird relationship with him as like Smashing Pumpkins was like a band that I discovered when they put out their first album, Gish, and this was pre-social media, and there was that feeling in like the 80s and 90s where when you were into a band that wasn't like on the radio all the time, you felt like you were the only person to know about them, and it felt like you created this bond with this band that like nobody else knows how great they are. And just it's been really hard for me because he's just become such a douche over the past 25 years, just a whiny, just, one of these gamer gatey type jackasses. And it's been really hard for me because in so many ways, the things that dude bitches about in interviews are the things that I bitch about in my head, but they're like the parts of myself that I'm like most ashamed of. Like they're like, oh, if I was the kind of guy to whine constantly about how unfair life is to me, I would sound like him, you know. But
Right.
anyway,
I'm subscribed. Remind us the Substack.
it is called New Music for Olds, and it is newmusicforolds.substack.com. And yeah, I listen to a lot of music, and a lot of people that are over a certain age, they're stuck in their own sort of
That's true.
algorithmic rut. And so I like to just introduce them.
Liz sends me things from your list.
Does she really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's very exciting.
And by the way, speaking of music, I come from a very conservative town, close to Pittsburgh, but definitely the country, Somerset, Pennsylvania. And they're very right wing now, I'm seeing on social media. But let me tell you something, growing up, we did when they pretend that they love, and I'm proud to be an American or the YMCA, that's not the shit we were listening to.
No,
You don't put that on at home. Why are you acting like you like it? That's weird.
because it's part of a uniform that they have to wear now.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, they're not creative people. They're not,
Right.
they're not of an artistic temperament. And so, but now with social media being the way it is, everyone thinks of themselves as a pundit and an artist and a creator, and so they basically just have to buy into whatever the low rent Trump
Right.
presentation of self is. Do you know what I mean? Like I have to like the songs and like the actors. I have to all of a sudden pretend that I'm invested in Kevin Sorbo because
Right.
that is that is
Right.
what I have signed up for. I have signed up for this bill of goods and I have to pretend that all of a sudden I'm a huge Ted Nugent fan and I love Kid Rock and I love Kevin Sorbo and Scott Baio and Dean Cain and
Yeah,
just
we
these
didn't have Hercules parties.
no.
I'll tell you
No.
that. And it is funny what's taking, that the word weird is taking. And it's not taking that there was an insurrection. It's not taking that Trump is, without exaggeration, a convicted rapist. It's taking that JD Vance doesn't know how to order a cheesesteak, that he literally asks, why don't you guys have Swiss cheese? That's taking. I guess whatever it takes, though, right?
Whatever it takes. And I think that the reason it resonated because it's just like for the past whatever 8 years now, or 9 years, ever since Trump started kind of catching fire, we've had to just pretend not to notice that we're lined up against people that you would avoid at parties. That these are
Yes.
people who you would avoid in your daily life, and they're not. They have no social or emotional intelligence whatsoever. They're people who they don't they don't pick up vibes. They're the kind of people who don't know when they're being assholes.
Right.
And for a long time, we've had it beat into our heads that like, we have to respect people from other parts of the country and we can't be coastal elitists. And all those things are true. But there's also like, there's a reason why most of us moved away
Right.
from some of these people. It's because they're petty, they're they want things to be the way they were in the 1980s because that's when they were in high school and they remember being
Right.
popular then or whatever,
Right.
they're not people you would hang out with. And I don't think I think that's why I think people are just like, yeah, can we just fucking call these people weirdos? Because these are people who I would avoid in a bar. I
That
would,
that's
this is
I
a guy, yeah.
That's what rubs me the weird way that Somerset, you didn't listen to Proud to Be an American. You wouldn't hang out with the JD Vance. By the way, I saw that movie before I even knew who JD Vance was, Hillbilly Elegy. I wonder if that actor like does that, that palm to his face. Like, what the fuck, man? You're kind of
Wait,
ruining
who
my
who
movie.
who starred in the movie? Who's
I forget
the
the guy's
actor?
name, but he was a good actor. It's a great movie. It's a Ron Howard movie. He makes good shit. And I see JD Vance in person. I'm like, that's not the dude.
Yeah.
That was Hollywooded for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure, I mean, and this is one of the things about being a liberal or on the left or however you want to say it is that people on the left are constantly analyzing their own full of shitness or trying to examine their blind spots, maybe to a fault. And I think it causes certain people to almost lean into their blind spots and faults, where it's just like, I want to do a movie, kind of what I was saying about the way journalists write about the left because the left will get angry and upset about it.
Right.
It's like you never see people on the right being like, are we the assholes? Whereas people on the left are constantly, if not wondering if they themselves are assholes, looking at other ostensible allies and
Yeah.
calling them assholes. You know what I mean? Like it's a
Yes.
constant, firing squad. And that has its issues. But the one of the problems with that is that it's like I'm sorry, I'm babbling.
No.
In my Not to break the world into two sets of people, but if you're going to, there's
Sure.
like head people and there's gut people, and there's people who sort of think through things and there's people who sort of feel like, just go with their gut. And the problem is the head people understand that you need gut people. Like if you're going in, if the house is on fire, you need somebody to run in and save your baby,
Right.
or if there's a firefight and there's a battle on you need people who are not going to overthink things and overanalyze things. You need people to act. But the gut people don't think that the head people are necessary.
I hear
They
you.
just think like these people are fucking
Right.
pussies until they fucking fail and ruin everything, and then all of a sudden the head people have to come in and fix it.
How long have you worked here? 4 months. Oh, good. How long have you worked here? 2 years. Good. This is JD Vance ordering donuts with cameras to show that he's a human goddamn being. He's a fucking weirdo. And
He's a
is
weirdo.
is Trump debating to make RFK the new vice president? Is it too late? Is he debating that for real?
I don't. It would not shock me that because the thing, and again, these are just me just pontificating
Sure.
randomly, but Trump loves celebrities. He loves
Mm-hmm.
stars,
Yes.
and in his mind, Don King and Meryl Streep and Vladimir Putin are all stars. Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? That
Yeah.
like Oprah, like that to him is the greatest currency someone can have is being a fucking celebrity and being a big deal and what he perceives to be a star. And JD Vance clearly is not a star. And RFK Jr., because of his biography, like there's something about him that I'm sure Trump gravitates towards more. So it would not shock me.
Do you think
I
Trump was upset when he met JD Vance and it wasn't the actor from Hillbilly Elegy?
it's entirely
You
possible.
don't
Or
really look the same.
he thought it was TJ Maxx and he was confused. He was like, "Oh my god, the clothing magnate? No, it's JD Vance."
That's what I'm thinking. Who the fuck knows what's real nowadays? But MSNBC guys reporting from the convention, and a kid holds up his phone, and on the phone it says JD Vance fucks couches.
It's really that happened?
I believe it's real.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Did you hear the Elon Musk and Trump interview is a dick sucking contest.
I heard, random clips of it, but I did not deem that necessary for me to tune in for the whole time.
I was curious. I did hear it. I haven't heard other rallies. I'm like, let me hear something. Nothing that's gonna change my mind. Who gives a fuck? But I just want to know. Um, and Trump is just repeating things he would have said in rallies. I didn't have to stand in 122 degree heat to hear it. But I did wonder if Elon, kissing his ass so much, wanted a cabinet position. And my friend Craig said, no, he's just trying to collect powerful people, get him on his
Yes.
side so he can do whatever the fuck with energy. I can see it both ways. And then I see Elon Musk tweeting out, I am willing to serve. And it's a doctored picture, Doge. He supports Dogecoin. I don't like him fucking with my money, by the way. Department of Government Efficiency. I think he's being serious.
Well, I think that he would absolutely, like you said, sort of scoop that role up as just another venue to have
Right.
influence and whatnot. None of these people who work with Trump want to serve Trump, really. I mean, in my mind, they want to serve themselves and they want to serve their own pet interests, all these dudes who write like Project 2025, it's like they understand that like Trump doesn't give a fuck about, you know, agricultural subsidies or like
Right.
what is our policy with Lithuania? Like he doesn't give a fuck. And so they know that he is just an empty vessel. And it's like, especially now, because at least in 2016, there was like a veneer of career, civil servants who were like, for my country, I'm going to work for Donald Trump, and they were ostensibly respectable and respected people. Well, those people are all gone. Like who the fuck do people think is going to be in a second? First of all, none of them will get confirmed. I mean, that'll be that right away. There will not be one confirmation of a secretary. They'll all be quote unquote acting secretaries, and it'll be the biggest fucking. It'll be like an old David Lee Roth video, like the group of fucking weirdos and psychopaths. Remember those like pre-video
Sure.
skits he would do, like
Right.
Justin
Right.
Gigolo? Like it'll be the biggest rogues gallery of freaks, and because and freaks and like actual Manchurian candidates, or freaks and career psychopaths, hardcore anti-abortion people, and as long as they just kiss the ring and give Trump a fluff every once in a while, then he's good with them. And I mean that's
This is
wah, wah.
this is different, but Alicia Silverstone happens to be an anti-vaxxer. She was just in the news or trending because she's in London and she started videotaping herself for social media. And she goes, "Look, I found this bush here, and what's on it? This is in somebody's front yard." And she takes what looks like a tomato, eats it, and is like, "What is this? It doesn't really taste like a tomato." First, why are you grabbing other people's shit? And the internet goes, "Well, it's poisonous." Now, I don't know. I guess it's so fucking pretty. It's worth it. I don't know. But what are you doing just grabbing other people's shit? But who knows what the government is putting in vaccines? And then she tweeted out later, like, "I'm alive and well. Don't worry. I didn't swallow, wink." Like, I don't know what that means. I saw you fucking eat it. But
Yeah. But I mean, but also, yeah, the notion that these people are like super concerned with health. I mean, you're gonna tell me looking at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with his roid rage body
yes.
and his creepy fillers and just all the weird shit. You're gonna tell me this dude is like super concerned with putting strange foreign substances into his body? Like
Right.
none of these people. It's all just a fucking. It's an excuse. It's just like a scaffold on which to hang their grievance and bullshit. They don't.
Here's got some news stories I want to get you to pontificate on. An Alabama community is in mourning following the death of a high school quarterback. 16 years old, suffered a brain injury during the school's season opener. I guess we're just starting to realize football might be a little dangerous, especially for children. What do you do as the coach the next game? You say, maybe tonight, don't give it all you got.
Let's leave most of it on the field.
Right.
Let's keep some of it in the locker room.
100% is fine. You don't got to give 110 just yet. It seems that giving it all you got is a little too much. It seems that your job to pile them into the fucking ground might be too much. So let's keep it calm until people forget.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's another sort of bit of cognitive dissonance that people are having to deal with now. It's like, oh wait, because of Tim Walz, do I have to pretend that I love football now? And do I have to
right.
like really get into football culture because I just spent the last 20 years like not giving a shit about football anymore. And but
Do you think about, you're not having children, I assume, right? Uh,
no, I mean we're not. I mean my wife is postmenopausal, and unless something
Do you,
tragic
I
happens.
ask, because do you ever find yourself thinking like, would I let my kid do this or that? And I just didn't have kids, which is interesting. That's that's how fucked up my dad was. That five of us were never interested in having a
Not,
kid.
none of you have kids?
None of us. It's interesting,
That is crazy.
right?
Five of you. Wow, that's
Boys,
nuts.
girl, a girl. No one gave a fuck. Yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
I would still think like, steroids in baseball still fake bothered me, where I'm like, so for my kid to be the best, he has to do these drugs. Would I have my kid in football? No, I don't. I'd
No, I mean
really
that's
rather
that's what's
not.
going to kill football. Like everybody's thinking, everybody's saying that, oh, whatever the woke mindset or whatever. it's going to be that parents just don't let their kids do it,
Right.
because it's one thing to be like, yeah, they can't even hit the quarterback anymore, and everything's
Right.
so pussified now. It's like another thing when it's your kid going out there, because like the way that the
And by the
training is.
way, as Trump's one of those people who said like, "Oh, it's pussified football." I don't know if he's seen football lately. It's still just as deadly, believe me.
It's just as deadly. And also, it's like people are in such physical condition now. The speed at which people hit you,
Oh, it's a train.
and the velocity and the strength, and you can add pads, but you can't add a pad between a person's brain and their skull. You know what I mean?
Right.
That it's like
Right.
inertia is going to do what inertia does, and so it's like your skull is still going to slam, your brain is still going to slam into the side of your skull, no matter how many pads, if you're hit at a certain velocity. And so, I don't really know what more you can do unless they start wearing literally like those puffy sort of airbag helmets, the ones that are basically they're
Right.
filled with air or something. I don't know what you do.
Maybe we can make it VR. If it's Madden's looking real on my Xbox. Who
Yeah,
knows? Who
everything.
knows? We just need entertained. Caden Tellier was taken to a hospital in critical condition after a head injury at John T. Morgan Academy's game against visiting Southern Academy, and his death was announced this next day. Here's the thing: I'm not sure what happened, and I'll tell you why. But like, you tackle a motherfucker, and then you go, "Yeah," and they're like, "He's dead." Fuck! Can we delete that footage? Because I
Yeah,
made a
I mean,
dance and everything. We made a team dance. Oh boy. We pretend we were bowling pins, you see. Oh boy. Officials didn't share details on how Teller was injured. Was injured. The police chief said 16-year-old football is boring. No one was really watching. I'm just kidding.
it's probably the vaccine.
Yeah. Our boy, Caden Teller, says the parents, has met Jesus face to face. Ah, yes, God in football. Good.
That's
Everyone
a we.
knows.
That's almost sounds like confrontational.
Right.
Like he stood up. He stood up to Jesus and said it right to his face.
Everyone who knows Caden has known kindness, generosity, and love, and true to his nature, he's giving of himself one more time, meaning that he's an organ donor. This guy can't quit giving.
He's he's being tackled for a loss in heaven.
He was a student, a friend, an athlete, and most importantly, a Christ follower. And Christ had his plans, I guess. So good for Caden that he was chosen. Morgan Academy school officials have suspended all school activities this week. Do you suspend the game that weekend? Because honestly, you have to make that game up.
Yeah.
You're
What's
playing
that
against other
first
people. It's
game?
the regular season. You have to make that game up. What's that like? After a
Yeah,
moment of silence, what's that like?
I'm putting all my money on the other team that first game back.
Are you the asshole to tackle like on the other team? Boo! Like, oh fuck, it's a visiting game. Shit.
Yeah, like if I was playing like on the opposite side of the line against whoever like made the hit, I would just be like shaking my head at him the whole time, like, "Wow, man, I can't believe you did that.
You're sick.
That's so uncool."
Speak about the brains rattling in Coney Island. They shut down the Cyclone roller coaster indefinitely for having a breakdown of some kind that people had to be escorted off. Sounds like it got stuck on the track
Hmm.
somehow. I remember when I first came to New York from this hick town, I thought Coney Island was Walt Disney. And my sister was visiting. I'm like, we're going to fucking Coney Island. It's going to blow your fucking mind. These carnies, can you say carnies nowadays? It is such dilapidated shit. Everything's falling apart. I go, oh, this looks like a fun ride for me and my sister. Oh, I guess it's not running. This guy's just sitting there smoking a cigarette. He goes, nah, if you want to get on, okay. Puts a cigarette out for some dumb reason we get on.
Well,
It's
they have a bunch of new stuff there. They have Luna Park now. Like there are a bunch of new rides there, and some of them are. I didn't go on any of them, but we went there last summer, and some of them look really cool. But it's like for me, and this is just for me, the fact that the Cyclone feels rickety and
oh my
dangerous
God, yeah.
is part of the appeal. That makes it
Would
more
you go on
enjoyable
there
to me.
twice? I was on there once and they go, you can go again for free. And it's like, no, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And you
I
see
would
wood chips
actually.
fall. You see wood chips falling off. I'm not exaggerating. And they act like it's here. I'll read this to you. The 97-year-old roller coaster. Yeah, don't brag. It's the oldest wooden roller coaster. We have steel now. It was taken out of service due to a damaged chain sprocket in the motor room. The operator stopped the ride, and several people were removed from the roller coaster without injury. Video posted on social media shows people being escorted down the tracks. Inspectors issued the owners of Luna Park violations for the damaged equipment and for failure to immediately notify the department about the incident. A posting on Luna Park's website said the Cyclone will reopen when the repair is complete and the ride passes inspection. I don't see how that thing could pass inspection. I really don't at all. Uh, I've had tougher food inspectors in restaurants than these fucking inspectors. At Luna Park at Coney Island, safety is our number one priority. It's not, spoiler. And ride maintenance. And through though testing happens daily before the wood doesn't even match anymore, where it's obviously supposed to be matching. They do testing every day and throughout the day as necessary. How would they know it's necessary? I know it's 3 p.m.
Yeah. What
Feels necessary, and I'm
necessary?
alive. We did it.
Gosh, should we check out the roller coaster? Nah, it doesn't seem necessary yet. Let me know when it's necessary. You know
Oh,
what I am
baby.
bummed about? They no longer have Shoot the Freak
I thought I was
Coney
taking her
Island.
to Space Mountain. I took her to Shoot the Freak. Shoot the Freak is you were on like a bridge. You look down into an alleyway and you shot paintball at a Mexican. That was Shoot the Freak. No, it wasn't Epcot.
Yeah, he's not, for people who have never been there, he's not exaggerating. That's
Right.
literally what it is. Just some poor underpaid immigrant
And
who
goggles
runs
running
around.
around. Yes.
Yeah. And you shoot him while referring to him as a freak. It seems like insult to injury.
Yeah. At least injury to insult. Um, Here's a fun story. A gunman tried to rob a man on his phone in Central Park, only to give it back and apologize, saying it wasn't the kind of phone he was looking for. The guy had a 9mm Glock. He pointed at this guy's back of this guy's head, said, give me your phone, then said this wasn't the phone I was looking for, gave it back. The suspect then left the park. And then there's a picture in the paper of a police officer talking to the victim. Motherfucker, he let you go. Do you ever want to be in that area of the park again?
So you're saying that he should have just counted his lucky stars and moved on with
Yes.
his life?
Yeah, the police aren't going to do a fucking thing. You got your phone back? Yeah. Okay, we'll get right on it.
I had a phone stolen off of my chest while I slept in Central Park once
Mm.
by three teenagers. And I was I was in the like right at 59th and like 7th Avenue. And I was like, I had an hour to kill. So it was like a beautiful spring day. And so I went in Central Park and I had my backpack under like as a pillow. And then I had like a hoodie over my eyes. And I had my, like a fucking idiot, I had my phone just sitting on my chest.
Right.
And I didn't even really feel it. Some random dude kicked my foot and was like, those kids just stole your phone. And I looked up and these three teenagers are running away
Mm.
and getting on their bikes, like right at Central Park South. And I, of course, am like half asleep and I like ran away. And then I realized I'd left my fucking backpack there. So I had to run back and get it.
Three
And
more
then
kids took back.
no, almost. But so then I run and the dudes in the chariots,
Right.
with the bike with the whatever you call it, chariot. I don't know, what do you call those things?
I got you. Yeah.
But the guy's like, get in, I saw them, where they go. And so I just jump in this thing, and this guy is now
Pedicabs.
pedicabs. He's now racing around Midtown, like with me in the back of his pedicab looking for these teenagers. And eventually I was like, this isn't gonna happen.
And he said, no problem. By the way, it's $50 a minute.
I know, exactly. I think I did give him $20 just as a thank you. But then that night I start getting texts from some random person saying, this is Officer Johnson from the 23rd precinct, but instead of precinct, they were writing percent from the 23rd percent. And I have your phone and I need you to come meet me at Grand Central Station. And I used the Find My iPhone and I could see that they were texting me from a uh, LGBT homeless like center in like Harlem. And I was like, oh fuck, man. Now I gotta
Right.
feel bad for these fucking kids. Like some like runaway who's like now living in this home. And what was hilarious though is that the kid was texting me pretending to be a police officer, but he was capitalizing every single word
Right.
Like I think he thought like, well, this is how adults text. You know what I mean? Like every word was capitalized. And so I called the police and they're like literally standing with me watching this guy text. And so finally, and you're able to do that Find My iPhone thing where you send a piercing noise
Hmm.
phone.
Yeah.
And so I just start sending Cambry, my wife, just starts sending alerts and tones. And the guy's like, you got to turn this off. You got to turn this off. You're waking up my family. I was like, you're a police officer and you're texting from your house right now? Like what?
I take my work home, anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
But
kept your
yeah,
phone home too.
but eventually I was just like, dude, the jig is up. Like I know this is bullshit or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I found your phone on the ground somewhere. Like
Right.
but yeah, eventually he did get the kid got arrested and had to write me like a
An
letter
apology.
of apology. Yeah.
Did you get your phone?
No, I mean it's fucking,
The
I
letter
just
means
bought a
more.
fucking
The
phone.
letter means more, anyways.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as as long as his life was ruined, that was the important thing for me.
Do but would you ever like if the news happens to be around? Would you go? My name is Christian Finnegan. Here's my age, and here's what happened. Like, who are these idiots that talk to the fucking news? Mayor
Everybody wants
Adams,
to go viral.
I guess Mayor Adams' controversial plan to install gun detecting tech in the Big Apple's beleaguered transit system started booting up. Fulton Street Station was the first place where they started putting up. I haven't seen these. Have you? Putting up
Mm-mm.
metal detectors, and when they do it though, when they now there's cops around there, so
Yeah.
okay. I mean, less crime happens when the cops are around. What's the metal detector then? If you're having cops watching the metal detector,
Well, and also it's like, is every person who walks through there with a can of soda gonna get stopped? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it seems a
am I gonna have
post
to take off my shoes and belt to get on the Q train? You know?
A reporter observed passengers forking over their handbags and backpacks to police for inspection before they passed through the electronic detector, where there was a sea of additional officers waiting on the other side. Once cleared, they retrieved their items. One police officer wearing rubber gloves was seen thoroughly searching one strap hanger's backpack, carefully going through each pocket. Yeah, I don't like this. In fact, I remember I went to some museum and there's a metal detector, and I'm on a date. And so they're like, what's in your pocket? Condoms. What? Condoms. And the chick's like, 5 feet away,
Yeah.
about to walk into this place. It's like, what? And then I own it. I'm like, I take it out. Condoms. I'm hoping I can have sexual intercourse later. He's like, oh, okay, sorry.
Why are your condoms made of metal?
I have a thick dick. I shoot hard.
I was thinking you need the support. You need the
Yes.
it's no, that's a scene in the movie Broadcast News
Oh yeah.
where Holly Hunter has condoms in her purse and she doesn't
See,
want William Hurt to know that. It's
commuters who
one of my
spoke.
favorite movies.
Commuters who spoke to welcome the scanners as long as they are accurate and don't hold up commuters. Oh, as long as it works, you might fucking like it. If it's not intrusive and it doesn't slow me down, I think it's a great idea. I
Yeah,
don't.
the devil's in the details, folks. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's like I would love to have a constant police presence if it doesn't bother me at all and doesn't cost anything and they hand
Right.
me lollipops every time I walk by,
And it doesn't turn racial like everything does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, I'm into stopping and searching. If only we had a term for that. I don't have a weapon, so I don't mind," said Ethan Liu, 30-year-old dork from Brooklyn. Yeah, put my name in the paper. I'm a fucking idiot. If it makes it harder to enter, then it's not good, he said. Fuck you. I hope your girl left you after reading this. If they don't do a good job, people will complain about it. And then you gave your name? Ugh. Ugh. You're vomitous. One man explained to cops that he was wearing steel-toed shoes after it set off the alarm. So there you go. NYPD officers said they've been complying. Well, no shit. What are they going to do? Fight you? When the program is implemented, only random people every five or so will be selected to go through the detector, says Adams. Yeah, you come on. You see this at airports and shit. What do you think's
I
gonna
mean,
happen?
just wait
Random.
until somebody is like in a massive hurry and they're trying to go through the normal turnstile, and then
Yes.
like, no, you have to wait over here and go and like, fuck you, I'm late for work, like, and then that escalates into some sort of argument, and then all of a sudden you're resisting arrest. I mean, like, I guarantee you that's going to happen 10 times in the first week that they do this. Is that there's going to be some altercation that is completely inspired by this safety measure.
Yeah, when Hemden and I went to the airport, she always happened to be the fifth person checked. That's interesting. Just
Go
the
figure.
timing. Yeah. The mayor, he described the new electronic technology as groundbreaking, noting scanners would be placed at select stations throughout the city over the next month. Technology has already been the technology is already being used at several high traffic parts of the city, including the Met Museum and City Field. City Field. Oh, that'll work out. That'll work out when everybody's leaving at once. Melissa Melissa
Oh God,
Williams.
that's gonna be fucking chaos. I didn't even think about that, like
Yeah.
post sporting events.
Melissa Williams, a 40-year-old Brooklynite, said, "My concern is that it'll affect the traffic moving in and out of the train station, but we need it. There's a lot of violence on the trains. Here's my name. I'm an idiot." The program has drawn backlash from civil rights groups, you think? Legal Aid and the New York City Civil Liberties Union announced plans to sue the city, arguing the detectives would violate strap hangers' Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure. Of course.
Listen, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but to me, the kind of violence I worry about on the subway is not somebody with a gun necessarily. It's somebody who's either has mental issues or is angry and is looking for an excuse. You see these
Right.
dudes in the subway every once in a while where they're just like, just give me a reason. You know what I mean? Well, they'll bump into somebody or they'll stand too close to somebody just so that they can be provoked into then,
Right.
upping. Like, to me, it's not necessarily the idea that, I mean, I'm not saying that people don't get shot. Occasionally it happens, but I think there's a lot more of people who are just like looking to get into it.
And this is why I'm saying this is silly. This is offensive. Have CAT scan machines that take a look at your brain as you walk through, and then see if you're mentally stable. Anyways,
It's funny you bring this. I have this. I want Apple to, how they have these Apple watches now that can measure your heart rate and your
yeah,
biometrics and whatnot. I think that when your significant other, your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or whatever,
right.
texts you, your phone should alert you to that person's heart rate when they're calling or texting you, so that you know what to expect.
45 over 100. Can you pick up milk? I don't know
Yeah,
if those
exactly.
numbers make sense, but something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then if it's a certain rate, you're like, oh boy, this is gonna be a rough one.
We do have to give our alien review, of course. People are we're leaving people out in the lurch.
I
Uh,
know.
I did not like the first Alien. I remember being bored, and that this new movie takes place right after the first Alien movie. Aliens, of course, I loved. That was James Cameron, a lot of action. Alien 3, I don't remember at all, so that must have sucked. Resurrection, I don't remember, so that must have bored me. What are your thoughts on those early ones? Those are all
I
Sigourney Weaver, I remember.
I tend to like the alien stuff that the real fans don't like. Like I like the world building and the story and the sort of philosophical and sort of scientific, science
Right.
ethics questions and sort of I loved all the stuff in Prometheus about the engineers and and
Oh, that's when they
that's
really got into it, right?
yeah,
Prometheus and Covenant.
and Covenant, Alien Covenant. Like that's honestly the stuff I prefer more. Like that's why like Aliens the movie doesn't really, to me that's just like a they
To
they
shoot
could
them up.
be like it's a shoot 'em up. Yeah, and that's fine, but it's just not super what I'm into. Whereas this movie it's mostly like a very tightly coiled small budget thriller, or at least that's the way it sort of presents itself as, kind of an enclosed space and small cast of characters. But I wish there had been a little more of the philosophy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's the usual. You got your fucking crawl spaces, you got your darkness, you got your androids. By the way, when did these androids ever work the fuck out? But anyways, spoiler, folks.
Yeah,
Every
the
fucking
hit rate
alien
on these
movie, these
androids,
fucking androids are
they're
a
batting
big problem.
they're batting 0 for 10 at this point.
Right. I saw Prometheus and Covenant. I saw him on TV accidentally out of order, and I think I liked it that way more than people like these movies. Because then I see the first one, and I'm like, "He's bad, you fucking idiots!" And everything is like, it's like you get something different out of it if you make it
Yeah,
nice.
I would have to see. I've only seen Covenant once, so I'd have to see it again to remember.
Um,
I
the,
think I would say it is worth seeing, but not worth rearranging your life to see.
yes, and so it started. I know that this is pretty silly to say an alien movie is silly, but when it got to the end, it got a little impossible, if I may say. And
Mhm.
then you think it's the end, and there's a whole other monster comes out, and I'm like, I don't need more bang for my buck. I'm
Yeah.
good. And by the way, I think if I was a movie maker, like movie makers are fighting the way TV changes the way you see movies, the soap opera effect, this kind of thing. They should be fighting how long the promos are. No exaggeration, 25 to 30 minutes of promos. And I'm supposed to see Horizon, a 3-hour movie. I can't take up half my fucking day, and my ass is hurting.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I do start to feel like that sort of cranky boomer. It's like it I went to see the movie and I got a medium popcorn and a medium Coke and it cost $40.
Right.
Like that seems nuts. Like
Yeah.
that seems crazy. I mean, we did see it in RPX, so I think the tickets were slightly more expensive. But it was $20 for the ticket and then 10.50 for popcorn and whatever nines for a soda. Like that's kind of nuts, you know. And then also, like you said, to have to devote literally your entire afternoon to this
Yes.
endeavor.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But I do like sitting in a movie theater. I like I do my focus in a movie theater is just 10 times what it is when I'm sitting on my couch. So
Sure.
I do enjoy that sort of that pressure to just sort of be in the moment of enjoying something.
Did you see did you see Horizon? It's on TV now, the Kevin Costner
I
movie.
I have not.
3 hours long, supposedly. It's part one of 4 parts, each
Hmm.
part being about 3 hours. I did see it last night. Well, I saw it over like 3 days. That's how you got to watch this shit.
Yeah.
And then it ends without explaining what they're doing. There's all these scenes that move so fucking fast, and I have to imagine it's promos for part
Setting up the
two,
next, yeah.
which they didn't put out in theaters yet because part one, nobody has 5 hours with promos to see this movie. So they're like, all right, nobody's seeing it. We might not even get these other parts. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liz, for example, we're watching it virtually, texting each other, and she's a genius. She did the mini crossword yesterday in 8 seconds, no exaggeration. So pretty smart. And she's watching these scenes move fast. She's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
I don't get what's going
Well,
on.
you know, it's been that thing that they say that every TV show now is referred to as like it's really like a 10-hour movie. It's like a 10-hour movie. Like,
Right.
and the problem is they've done the opposite too, that every movie now has to be like a fucking long ass TV show. It's like have just that a 98-minute movie done well is going to
Yes.
be so much more satisfying than a 3-hour version of that same movie. Like it's harder,
Right.
but it's when it's done right. Like somebody brought up that the Princess Bride is 98 minutes long. It's like, and that's like as perfect, as a
Yeah.
sort of a tight comedy can be.
Uh, yeah.
What's the tightest movie in the world in your opinion? Like the movie where it just like there's not one boring scene. It just starts and it never flags.
This one's popping in my head. Another comedy. The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen is 80 some minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this guy probably had other ideas. There's probably shit on the cutting room floor. It's okay. You're getting paid the same from our tickets. Don't worry about it. When a movie comes out and it's 2 hours long and it sucks, the director knows it didn't work out. The studio knows it didn't work out. Cut out 30 minutes and trick me. How can Madam Web be 2 hours? You fucked up, so get rid of shit.
Okay, in their defense, you fucked up for going to see it. That's really a you problem.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing The Crow later today. Good God. Yeah, well. KeithAndTheGirl.com/YouTube. Whole bunch of new YouTube stuff. In fact, I'll put this video with me and Christian for Emerald members. KeithAndTheGirl.com/YouTube. You can see the German comic former model we talked to recently, Mario Adrian. He's fantastic. Very good looking. You'll enjoy that. Conversely, you'll see Newsy and his fucked up face. That's up there. This guy, our buddy Newsy, Christian, was riding his bike.
Oh no.
Some kind of fucking accident. Next thing
No.
you know, he's sliding on his face so long that he says to himself, I'm still sliding.
Oh God.
But you know what? You appreciate the times you aren't sliding on your face and the wind in your hair.
How is he now?
He's more worried about his face and dating. But he's alive.
Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sorry, Newsy, if you're listening.
I don't even know if his ears work anymore. The whole fucking head. Do you bike ride?
I do. I have not as much since my surgery. I used to ride into the city to do my sets all the time. I'd ride over the bridge and go down to East Village and stuff like that. But I'm an elderly fat person now, and I don't
It's not
have the
worth it.
vim. I don't have
Good.
the vim I used to have.
Good.
And I have one of those little folding bikes, which just they can be a bit of a drag trying to get over
I
the
see.
bridge on.
Gotcha. What should the audience know? I'll tell them. Your stand-up's great. Look up Christian Finnegan
It's kind
and
of you to say.
the Substack, like you said, because I'm excited to hear about this dude from Smashing Pumpkins.
New music for olds. Substack.com.
There you go. Christian, thanks again. Good seeing you, and I like being your friend. Let's keep this going.
Thanks.